Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, sponsored by Reps Virtual Reality, First Down Playbook, Rack Coach, The Top Hopper, Sideline Design, Sports Workbook, and Tip of the Spear. Today, we got Danny Boguszewski, a fellow Polak, and I never even knew why I was stupid. It's because I was a Polak and I was taught to be stupid by the Germans. So I taught Danny Danny Bogue. It's not Bog, Coach McNally. But Coach McNally, this podcast is for you. So Danny, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about you, your life, your journey, and how did you get to meet me?
Hey everyone! So I want to appreciate you, Troy, for bringing me on, man. I'm pretty pumped up about this. Again, my name's Danny Boguszewski, or Coach Bogue. But my journey started with I'm a New Jersey guy, so I started playing football in South Jersey. Grew up here my whole life, and after high school, went up to Western Connecticut, played some college ball up there, transferred over to Rowan University, and finished out. And then got into coaching at age 21, man. So going into my 21st year of coaching football this upcoming season. And the football has just been such a huge part of my life. I mean, this is what kind of instilled some of the characteristics of just being a good person, just being able to work in a team setting, and everything that we gain from this game. It's just been so invaluable to me. So my coaching experience, I started out at Paul VI High School in Haddonfield, New Jersey, and I was there for about 9 years. Offensive line coach, transitioned into an offensive coordinator, then went to Sterling High School for a year, came back to Paul VI. I'm a type of person that never wants to burn a bridge that you might have to cross again. So I always try to keep those open networks going. So headed back to Paul VI, and then went to Eastern High School, where I currently teach at, and was the head coach there for 3 years. Awesome experience. Completely different than being an assistant. As much as you ever want to be a head coach, you realize quickly, you don't do as much coaching as you do managing personalities, managing booster clubs, managing administration, managing academics for your students. So I learned that firsthand, and it was an awesome experience, but an experience for sure. From there, I went over to Timber Creek High School. A coach named Rob Hinson brought me over, and Coach Hinson was absolutely amazing. The way he saw the game, the amount of attention to detail, and how the kids just respected him was unbelievable for me. So here I go to Timber Creek High School. Our quarterback's Devin Leary. It's his senior year. Devin goes on to play at NC State and University of Kentucky this year. Now he's getting ready for the draft. But our first game's in East St. Louis, Missouri. So here I am, first time ever coaching something big like this. And it was an absolutely unbelievable experience. So going to Timber Creek, we traveled to Ohio, we traveled to New York, traveled to Virginia, and it was great. Coach Hinson ended up going up to Rutgers to coach there. So I moved on to my alma mater of Overbrook High School, coached outside linebackers and receivers for a year, and then went back to Eastern High School when a guy, Lionel Bowling, got the head coaching job. And Lionel's an amazing man. He's one of the guidance counselors at the school as well at Eastern. Said, come on, Bogues, you got to come back here. So I went back over to be his offensive line coach. He's a Notre Dame grad. And felt like it was the right thing to do. So spent 3 years there, and now this is going to be year one at Williamstown High School. So making another move in my 21st year, just wanting to continue to progress and learn as much as I can.
So how did you meet me, Danny?
Yeah, so Troy,
first time.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you remember the first time that you met me or heard of me or Coach McNally and the whole deal with that?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember the very first time that I met you, but I remember you kept talking about Coach McNally, and honestly, I wasn't extremely familiar with even who Coach McNally was. You know, a lot of us O-line guys, we don't get a lot of credit. You know, I know you're always totem pole nation, low man on the totem pole, right? So, so I didn't know, but I started following you. I'm like, man, this guy's got great energy. This guy has this podcast going, and I didn't even really know too much about podcasts either. So following you with some of this and linking up on Twitter is how that started. And then you were like, said that you're going to run like a coach's clinic. I remember you gave me your phone number. I reached out to you. You're like, "Yeah, come on down. It's going to be a great time." So that was pretty much our kind of interaction. But then from there is how I got to know Coach McNally. And Coach McNally was putting all this stuff out there on Twitter for us and been an unbelievable resource. But he says, if you really want to know, just come up and visit me. And he kept saying that. And he put it out there for people. So on, I think, let's see, I did write it down. Yeah, on May 4th, I reached out to him. So this May 4th of 2023, I reached out to Coach McNally, DM'd him, said, "Hey, Coach, would love to come up and visit you." And he's like, "Well, come on up." So there we go. I hop in my car on June 16th and drove right on up to Buffalo. And it was an absolute unreal experience, man. I get up there. I'm there a day early. And I'm like, "Hey, Coach, what's kind of going on around here?" He's like, "You're pretty close to Niagara." So go to Niagara Falls for a day by myself, head over to Canada by myself for a day. I'm like, "This is great." But then Saturday comes, June 17th. And that's when everything kind of clicked and changed for me. I get there in the morning. Coach McNally standing there with his weight belt on, standing at his front door, already standing out on the step. He's ready for me, man. I'm like, come walking up. I'm like, all right, this is going to be great. Walk in, and he's showing me like his collectibles and this Miami Hurricane gear that he got and autographs from teams that he's been on and all this great stuff. And then he's no nonsense. So he wants to get right down to business. We sit down in his dining room table, and it's everything you see on Twitter. Boom, 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 boom. He's just pulling up videos, telling me all these different techniques. And then next thing you know, he's got me in like his little entryway of his house, and he's blocking me. He's blocking chairs. He's telling me I can video anything that I want from him, and it was just an amazing experience getting to know this guy.
Yeah. So just to go back for anybody who is watching or will watch in the future, I mean, Danny, I want this thing to be, we're documenting history, not just Coach McNally's history, but your history. And I want your family to be able to go back and look at this years down the road. And, but I mean, in February of 2023, correct? I mean, I contacted Coach McNally and got him on Twitter. And then he got on Twitter. So you said, what was it? You said May?
May is when I reached out to him, yeah.
In June, you went up there to him. And, then you end up going to the University of Miami and getting hooked up with Coach Mirabal. That's right. I'm going to Miami. Bienvenido a Miami. They call me Papi Chulo. They do. They say, "Mamitas." But, like, dude, it's crazy that.
May I have your attention? Bus 37 is about to leave.
We live our lives by the bell, man. That's how I teach life.
Bus 37's about to leave. All right, it's 3:38 right now. They got out of school at 3. Right. So, like, all these guys, that have been following Coach McNally, the Coach Mirabal, like, he sent me a message on Twitter, like after one of our workouts last year, thanking me for getting Coach McNally. And I was like, is this real? Like, the offensive line coach at the University of Miami is thanking me. And like, what? It was like, it blew my mind, man. And Coach Bill Bess from Colorado State, and, being able to connect you and Coach Mirabal. Talk a little bit about that, because Coach Mirabal, he adores Coach McNally, and then being able to go down there and, meet him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, ironically enough, I've been all about the U forever, man. I absolutely love the University of Miami. And so when I went up and met with Coach McNally, before I left, I was telling him that my mom lives down in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and I was going down there the next week, and that Mirabal was running an O-line camp. And he's like, "Oh, Alex?" He's like, "I'll put you in contact with him." So he calls up Coach Mirabal right away, leaves a message, gives me his cell phone number. So I reach out to Alex, and I say, "Hey, I'm going to come down." And man, you want to talk about a sincere, great dude. Coach Mirabal, he was a teacher for a long time before he went into the college ranks, and you could just tell that he's passionate about what he believes in, but he's also passionate about people. Like those relationships and network is unreal. So I talked to him on the phone, all geeked up, go down to Port St. Lucie, and he's like, "Yeah, come on down." So I wake up like 5 o'clock in the morning, drive down to the University of Miami, And here I am in this amazing complex with a ton of high school students coming down for this big O-line camp. So in the beginning, I meet Coach Mirabal, shake his hand. He's great energy and everything. He introduces me to Coach Pat, his assistant offensive line coach, kind of giving me the breakdown of everything. And then it's game on. And when that happens, it's like, all right, coach blows the whistle, and he has a couple guys, some of the players there, kind of helping him with drills. And I mean, he's moving and grooving. So as I'm there, I want to just video things. I'm like, I can't even just sit here. You know, now I'm watching like some of the drills that McNally does and some of the drills that Mirabal that I knew he was going to be doing. And I'm like, I'm jumping right in. I've got guys like double unders on these medicine balls and foot fire and all this good stuff, or rolling the meatballs. And I'm like, all right, this is perfect, man. So Mirabal was an absolute pleasure to meet. From there, he was like, hey, anything you need from me. He put me up in his coach's office. I was like, hey, can I see some spring film? He's like, yep, anything you need. Boom. So now there I am recording his spring film and picking up all the drills and the implementation of how he's installing these techniques and everything he's doing. And it just realized like that football family and that connection that is out there. It's real. Like even when you're mentioning like Coach Bill Bess and stuff like that, like I never even knew Coach Bill Bess until you guys mentioned him. And next thing you know, I fly down to Charlotte to come visit you at a Playbooks coaches clinic, and really excited to meet you in person for the first time. Because you and I were supposed to link up for one of your playoff games. I was going down to JMU. You're like, hey, hop on the bus with us. You're going to go over. It's going to be great, man. And just didn't time out right. I didn't want to leave my family behind. But I'm
glad you weren't there.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You did express that to me, but Charlotte, man. So now I meet Bill Bess. He's got Tip of the Spear T-shirt on. I'm like, hey, what do you work for these guys? Not even realizing like I'm sitting here talking to the offensive line coach for Colorado State, right?
You didn't know? You didn't. So you didn't even know that was Bill Best.
No, I did.
That's funny. It's funny, man. The guys who are big time don't act big time.
No.
And the guys who want to be big time try to act it. It's nuts, man. Like, talk about that. Bill Bess, like, you didn't even know who he was. I mean, then the Steve Saunier story.
Yeah,
like,
just to piggyback now, right, rewinding back to Charlotte. It's like, I fly in, I get a text message from you. Hey, Steve and Dan, you guys can link up. I'm like, all right, great. I have no idea who Steve is, but I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm looking for a guy named Steve at the airport, and find out his name's Steve Saunier. Now, he's the associate head coach at West Florida, and he's the offensive line coach at West Florida. So now we shuttle over. While I'm talking to him, I don't realize that, like, other coaches are pretty giddy to see McNally too. You know, like, it's not just me, a high school coach that's had the opportunity to go meet him, but it's these college coaches are excited to see him too. So shuttle over with Steve. Now I meet Bill Bess, and then I meet Brett Shockley, and all these coaches were shaking hands, and I can tell they're geeked up to meet McNally too. You know, we're sitting there talking to you, and it's like, all right, he's going to be coming down for dinner soon. And as soon as he does, it was absolutely game on. I mean, McNally's sharing stories. You know, he's flipping over chairs, blocking things while we're eating dinner, and
cussing me out. I mean, I got cussed out 3 or 4 times, but then after it was over with, he's apologized. I said, Coach, you don't have to apologize. I deserve to be cussed out. I can take tough love. You can't be a tough coach without being able to get coach tough.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, talk about that, man. I mean, the guy that I work for, Coach Mills, said that he learned more in those 2 hours with Coach McNally at dinner than he ever learned at any coaching clinic. So talk about that, spending that time with Coach McNally the night before the clinic.
Yeah. So, I mean, the same thing. Like, you can watch every video you can think of on Twitter with Coach McNally, and until you experience Coach McNally in person, you'll never know. You know, like it's just night and day. When that night before, that Friday night, when McNally came down for dinner, it's like he's got salt and pepper shakers set up. We get a basket of muffins over. Now we got like cornbread and muffins he's showing different blocking techniques. Now Coach Bess wants to get up and ask a question. Now we're match blocking at dinner and twerking guys out. You got Coach Saunier is working with him as well, and it's like that energy at 80 years old that Coach McNally brings is just next level, man. He's talking about his 11 percenters, the guys that watch all his videos. And next thing you know, he's like, these are for my 11 percenter. He's busting out 15 to 20 pull-ups, you know, and it's like, wow, this is where it's at. So that Friday night, I think every single one of us were just kind of in awe as we're sitting there realizing, like, all right, here's a coach that Buddy Ryan was his coach at the University of Buffalo. So he's telling us stories about that. Then he's telling us about Boston College. Then he's saying about how he went to Marshall and Coach Red from Marshall and about the parodies with the movie and everything. And then transitioning into the NFL and coaching Anthony Munoz, who might be one of the greatest offensive linemen to ever live. And you're like, wow, this is a coach that spent his entire his career, Munoz's entire career was with Coach McNally. And you're like, wow, this guy really knows what he talked about. So when you're around Coach McNally, he kind of has that like certain aura around him. You know, it's almost like you feel like you're with an awesome grandpa. You're hanging out with like a real cool grandpa, but at the same time, you're like, he's way more knowledgeable than you would ever think. But he's as real as anybody could ever imagine. I mean, like he is, like you said, he cusses you out. He keeps it real with everybody. But that energy, it's just contagious. And once you start talking to him, I mean, once you get you're starstruck maybe at first. But once you start like just relating to him, you're like, all right, he's a guy just like the rest of us. He just happens to know a lot more football than most people. But at the same time, he's a great dad with two daughters and a son and an awesome wife and grandchildren and things like that. And you can see how that really, really is a priority for him. And that stuff's just contagious. I mean, even for myself, like I said, I'm going into year 21. I mean, family, friends, and football are so unbelievably important in my life. And it's like, yeah, a lot of us have dreams of coaching in college, coaching in the NFL. I mean, that's always been the aspiration. But it's like, you know what? One year I'm coaching at Rowan. Next year you're at New Mexico. Next year you're in Colorado. Next year, it's like, where do you kind of call home? So for me, I love being a family guy. I want my two beautiful daughters to grow up, have that stability, have family around. I got my grandma gets them off the bus some days, my mother-in-law on other days. And it's just, that was the priority. But I have an amazing wife who says, we started dating when we were 13 years old. We married, it's going to be 17 years this year. Yeah, pretty awesome, man. Yeah. Wow. Me and Coach Brett Shockley share that June 30th anniversary. But yeah, so we've been married 17 years, and she always has told me, I'll go anywhere you want. She'll support me with coaching no matter what. And just to have that communication, have that connection, it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, this is a hobby for me. You know, it's the teaching job, as you know, you're a teacher as well. The teaching job is what pays the bills, not the coaching job, but the coaching job is where a lot of that passion comes from, and that connectability and relating to kids and developing that rapport and all that stuff is what I feel is just imperative, like to kind of get you where you want to be. But at the end of the day, family's still got to be first. Family's got to be number one.
Amen. So, like, someone who doesn't know Coach McNally, like, I mean, it's just like, it's so humbling for me to think that I am stupid enough to think that I can text message the greatest living offensive line coach, the greatest of all time, and actually get a response and teach him how to use Twitter. You know, what was it, 2 hours to put 2 pictures up and change his name and bio. And then for all this to happen, like, we're just so blessed. And for people that don't know him, like, what would you say are his core beliefs about offensive line play? Because tell us a little bit about the message.
Yeah, I mean, the message, he makes it loud and clear with the message. You know, he'll yell at you, curse at you, but it's staying square.
The message he left you. Talk about the message he left you. The voicemail.
Yeah. So the other day, I mean, he just left me a message, and I'm up in North Jersey at a cheer competition at this American Dream Ball with my daughters. You know, I'm around a bazillion screaming cheerleaders and all this stuff, and I get a voicemail from Coach McNally, and I'm like, yeah, that's not something that happens every day,
man. Don't ever erase that.
That's staying forever. But he sends me this message, and he's like, Danny Bog. He's like, Coach McNally, you don't need to call me back, but I just want to let you know, you got it. You got everything. You got everything I have. He's like, although there's probably another 1,000 things in my head, but you got everything I had. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm not even close to knowing what Coach McNally has in his head. I mean, he has so much to offer to us, and it's just unbelievable. But just to have that almost like aha validation, like, all right, coach is recognizing that I'm astute. I'm jumping in. Everything he has to offer, anything he throws out there, I'm trying to absorb it and just push the message as hard as I can. He tells me tip of the spear and Scott Peters, boom, I'm studying Scott Peters and tip of the spear. It's like every single thing he talks about when it comes to football. I mean, how do you go against it? He's been there and done it. And a lot of us, I mean, we can be as hard-headed as possible. I know for a bazillion years, I took probably first 18 years of my coaching or 19 years of my coaching, I'm taking that lead step. I'm drawing my hands back and stuff. And it's like, all right, well, now we're leading with hat in hands. It's like, well, it's heads up football, right? We're trying to get the head out of the game. Well, Coach McNally's already been doing this stuff. Never took notice to it until he puts himself out there and things that he's recognizing. It's like, all right, if you're not too old to evolve at 79 years old and realizing like, yeah, we don't use flippers, man. We play long, tip of the spear, you know, all this great stuff that he talks about. It's like, all right, if coach believes in it and if coach can do it, why can't the rest of us do it? You know, and that just had to be like a mindset, you know. He would preach a lot of times. He'd be like, coaches will say they can't do it because they're in high school. That's not true at all. I mean, we got to give these kids a lot more credit. You know, if you teach them the right way, they're going to do it. You know, if you teach them how to take the right step, you teach them how to take a brace step, you teach them how to play long, you teach them what double stop signs are, everything that Coach McNally talks about, the proof is there. It works in the NFL, works on the college level. Why wouldn't it work in the high school level? You know, so just having that with Coach McNally and having somebody to reach out to me. I mean, the other day I'm in school and we're proctoring exams this week and stuff. I had a period off and I'm blocking like punching bags, and I send the videos over to McNally and just to get some feedback from him. He's like, exactly, you're on, except, and then gives me like a whole write-up on what I can change and learning how to make sure you scoot. And if the guy's too wide, you might have to scoot to him. You might have to shuffle to him, foot fire, all this great stuff. And it's like, excellent. I can take this and now put it right over to my players. And they're seeing it. They're seeing me do it. They're seeing me learn from the greatest of all time. And it's like the proof's in the pudding, man. Let's go. Let's roll.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't even gotten to what he teaches, but the fact that the thing that makes him so special is he makes others feel special. Everybody feels like they're his friend. He might not even know who you are, but he makes you feel special. He told you that you knew what he knew. And that made you feel special as a high school coach from New Jersey. He told me that I was better than average. And that was like Michael Jordan telling me that I was good at basketball. And he has that gift. He has that gift, and it's love. Yeah. He does it out of love. He doesn't do it for the money. Like all these guys, you know, will meet with you for a year for $5,000 or for $50 a month. And that ain't why he does it. And that's why he is the greatest of all time. That's why he should be in the Bengals Ring of Honor. That's why he should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the technique. But that is
I'm with you. Talking about that love and not in it for the money. I mean, right now he's doing these 4-hour podcasts, these 4-hour like clinics on Monday nights. And it's like $2 or $2.50 for every Monday night. But yet it's 4 hours. And I'm like, oh, wow, we just talked duo now for 12 hours. It's like, man, if you don't see every scenario now with duo, I mean, he's putting it out there for you. And he's putting so much time in it because he's finding every single video you could possibly think of. He's showing every single technique you can work on. And he's giving you every single problem that might arise as you're doing it, you know? And again, that's not about the money. When I went to go visit, he said, he told me right up front, he's like, unfortunately, you're going to have to pay. He's like, my that it's free. So I'm like, okay, how much is it going to be? And he's like, well, what do you find fair for 5 hours? You know, I'm like, I don't know. What about like $300? I got to drive up there. I got to get a hotel and all this stuff. And he's like, absolutely, no problem. And I get there, and you could tell like he felt guilty. He didn't take my full $300. He gave me, I think I gave him maybe like $200, and then he took me out to lunch and treated me for lunch and everything. And I'm like, you could tell that this guy just wants to give back to the game of football that was probably so important for him, but also he just wants to be a real guy. You know, he just wants to be down to earth. He does care. I mean, you're talking about the love and the friendship. I mean, I'm driving home now from Buffalo when I leave him, and I think he called me maybe 4 times on the ride home. I got like a 6 or 7 hour, 8 hour drive home, and he's calling me, and he's like, nah, he's like, I consider us friends now, and I'm like, I'm hearing this, and I'm like blown away. I'm like, really, this Hall of Fame NFL coach who's done more than I could ever even imagine is basically giving me all the knowledge in the world in terms of offensive line play, and then wants to turn around and says, yeah, he's like, I consider us more. I consider us friends. And I'm like, that's when you know. I mean, when I went up to Buffalo, I had no clue where we were going to be, and there he is. He's opening his front door, and I'm walking into his house. You know, I mean, that just shows that sincerity that he has. He doesn't know me from anything. I randomly reached out to him through Twitter. You know, so that's great. You know, but then even working with Coach McNally, he has me in his living room, or like I said, in that little walkway, and we're blocking each other. He's like, no. He's like, fit up. So now I go to block him, and I mean, Coach McNally again, he was 79 years old at the time. I go to just block him with the tip of the spear. I rip off like a shred of skin. You know, he's like, I'm old. He's like, it's not your fault. I'm old and stuff. And then he goes in the back room, wants to put Neosporin on, patch up. I'm trying to wash blood off my hands. He's like, where are you? Get back here. I'm like, Coach, I'm just trying to get washed up real quick. And he just wanted to keep talking shop, keep talking ball. And, you know, it's like, I mean, he references sometimes. He's like, I don't even watch football, or I don't even like football. And I'm like, all right, someone that says they don't watch or like football as much anymore. You got more video, and you're more well-versed on what's going on than anyone I've ever even come in contact with.
Yeah, it's funny, like, because I understand what he means, and I met guys like him. They are so consumed by it that it's a love-hate relationship. But when he starts going, he can't stop. I mean, it's almost like I was talking to my students. Like my dad used to say, food is my weakness. I will fight it no longer. My weakness is strong, but my willpower is stronger. Like, that's basically saying that we're the problem, but the other thing is addictive. I mean, he knows that he's addicted to it. I mean, so he knows himself, and he can't stop.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, it's contagious, man. I wake up in the morning and I get my shower and stuff.
You make me question myself. I'm like questioning how much I love it just by listening to you right now.
Well, I tell you, It's like I'm telling you every morning. Like you don't want to be consumed in your phone all the time. So I'm waking up, shower, getting myself ready. But I'm looking, man. I'm like, all right, great. Coach already has 5 videos up today. You know, so there I am trying to digest this. I have my 10-year-old daughter Kinsley. She's giving me double unders in the morning and running her feet and foot fire, and it's awesome. They're like, they hear me and how much respect that I have for Coach McNally, and they've just been part of it now. You know, my wife, they just know that.
He knows my girlfriend. Yeah, man.
Yeah. But you're right. Like that obsession now, it is contagious, because I constantly am looking for that video, looking for the scheme, looking for that little bit of an edge to be able to help myself, to be able to help my players, and keep this game that we love going forward in the right direction. It's like, I know Coach McNally's not going to be around forever, but I'm gonna make sure I take every opportunity to take advantage of this right now. You know, it's like, I think originally your clinic was going to be in Virginia, and you're like, sorry, Danny, I had to cancel. We're going to move it down to Charlotte. Just work.
I got fired.
And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go to Charlotte then, you know? So now I fly down there, because I'm like, how many times am I going to have an opportunity to network with a guy like Coach McNally, you know? Just amazing.
It was amazing. I mean, it continues to be amazing. And I mean, who would have ever thought that Coach McNally would be on Twitter? You didn't even know who he was. There was a lot of people that didn't know who he was. But the guy he's left a masterpiece that will live forever on Twitter. And with these clinics that he's doing now, and the podcast that he's done, he will live forever, and he will live through us. And because he gives. All right, Eric Straub says number 1 line coach in Jersey. I believe it, and I think that the best coaches and the best teachers are the best learners. Like, you can't be the best coach and the best teacher without being the best learner. And that's what Coach McNally is he is a lifelong learner. He's the best learner, and he's the best giver. He serves. And, talk about that. Like, for somebody that's never studied Coach McNally, what would you say are the 3 things that you got to know? I know he said it at Charlotte, but 3 things you got to know about what he teaches and what he believes in right now.
Yeah, and I mean, and the message sometimes it comes from the passion with Coach McNally, So if he curses or he's pissed off or things like that, it's just because he's passionate about it. But when you get to know Coach McNally, it's like, now you can understand he developed a rapport with these guys. Like, these guys care about him. They want to be around him. And I felt that immediately, and I feel even myself as a coach, the number 1 thing I try to do is establish that rapport. We're not all the same. We're not going to act the same. We're not all going to talk the same. But that doesn't mean we can't like each other, respect each other, get along with each other, work with each other. And I think that's what I really got from McNally. It's like you could just feel like, all right, he cares about people, but he also cares about this game and teaching it the right way. And his biggest passion for him is staying square. You stay square in that line of scrimmage as long as you can. You stay square no matter what. The other one he gives us is we're playing long. First contact wins, first contact wins, first contact wins. So we want to strike first. No cocking the hands back, exposing your chest, D-lineman, or shooting them right into your chest. First contact wins. Be proactive. Whether it's run or pass, first contact wins. And these are just the things that he constantly pounds into your head because you're hearing it over and over again. I wake up in the morning and I'm like, all right, stay square. First contact wins. Play long. Double stop signs, foot fire. And the other one he's really big with is not piercing the line too quick. And not piercing the line.
True. It's true.
It's so true, man. He shows you all the clips. And at first, when you first hear it, you might not understand it. But then you're like, okay, this is why. So not piercing the line too quick. We're climbing up to these linebackers, and they're shedding us. They're good athletes, things like that. And the running back doesn't even have the ball yet. It's like, how long do we want to maintain these blocks? And when guys are pinching and twisting and we got dog stunts and all types of things, it's like, no, stay on that line of scrimmage as long as you can. And when they come to you, now we're gonna go. All right. If you're the young cover guy, if you're covered, well, it's game on automatically. That goes back to that first contact wins. But I would say the big things with McNally is stay square, play long, don't pierce the line of scrimmage too early.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the game of football, you learn something every day. And Coach Mills at Dinwiddie, he talks about even his defensive players, when they go to tackle, keeping their shoulders square, because it makes a difference. If I'm going to tackle a guy right here, my shoulders are turned. If that dude goes over here, I can't tackle him. Yeah. So because you got to be able to play both sides. And, I mean, he just continues to amaze me. And, I mean, we're 2 high school coaches, one from Virginia and one from New Jersey. We didn't even know each other probably last year this time. And we're on this podcast talking about a guy that we love. Absolutely. I mean, we love him. And he's given so much to the game. I mean, what is that next level stuff that Coach McNally knows that which he says you got down pat. So, I mean, we got that. That's the elementary, but what's the black belt stuff?
Yeah, I mean, you start going into his next level stuff. I mean, he's putting questions out there now on Twitter. He's like, do you understand it? Can you answer it? And I'm trying to answer it as fast as I can and talk like McNally would, just so I can start to visualize it. So a lot of what he's talking about now, I mean, I get there and he's double under. This is his big thing, but he's like, now I got a wedge hand. He's like, when that defensive line wants to shoot his hands out, I'm going to wedge it, and then I'm going to come with an underhook. And now, we're going with this single under, and we have so much more control, bringing the hips and everything that Scott Peters and Tip of the Spear is about. And that's what McNally brings to the game in terms of that whole next level. Like, and not in a million years would I ever expect somebody to block like this. Okay. But he's like, double stop sign, work towards your linebacker. Your linebacker's going to tell you everything, but you might have to rewind. Okay. Rewind some. So you rewind back, you bang this guy, and then we might have to come back to where we want. And he's showing examples of a guy starts left, rewinds back to the right, climbs up to the linebacker when the linebacker shows. And you see why it works, and the proof is in the pudding. But it's like whatever he thinks I learned from him. I mean, he pounds it in your head. It's just repetitive. But that's the only way you're ever going to learn if you want to be really, really, really good at this stuff. So the resources that he puts out there right now, it's like, man, I'm constantly copying this stuff, putting it into a Google Classroom. I'm doing FaceTimes or Zooms with my players now, trying to just introduce them to like the basic level, because so many guys for years, and again, I said it, is they take that lead step. Well, we take that lead step. I mean, our hips are locked. We don't have much options where everybody is in the weight room or we're power cleaning, we're bringing our hips. Well, when you have that lead step, you can't do that anyway. So now he has us rooted. Staying square, rooted into the ground and lunging into the block. So now, again, when I go to his house, I got this guy, 80-year-old man, lunging into a chair, showing me how to unlock your hips and showing me how to take a step backwards to brace to lower our level. And it's when you start seeing like his passion for it, you're like, all right, well, one, I know this is the right way because he's legendary. And then two, it's like, yeah, we can coach this. We can teach this. It works for everybody. It's just a matter of putting in that time to digest it, So that's where I've got with Coach McNally now. I mean, having that resource has been absolutely unbelievable. And again, even Coach Mirabal going there, and not every coach does things the same. I mean, Coach McNally believes in certain things, and Coach Mirabal says he believes in that stuff too, but he might just do it a little bit different. Talking to Coach Shockley from a school in Arkansas, same type of deal. I mean, Coach McNally is all about playing long. We get that gallop block. We're down, all right, maybe on a deuce or an ace block, and Coach Shockley's still using the shoulder. He's like, there's a lot to be said on this surface area where I'm not just aiming with my hands. So just because Coach McNally says it one way doesn't mean everybody does it exactly the same way. Like I'm trying my hardest to do exactly everything he says, but then you talk to other coaches, you'd be like, all right, well, you're really successful in the college scheme. I believe you too when you tell me little, big, and he's bringing it. All right, and that's Coach Shockley saying this stuff. And then even hearing like Coach Bess, he's working on like these outside pillars and proactive hands and independent hands. You're like, all right, they're all saying it. They're all just saying it a little bit different. And then while we're sitting around at that round table at dinner on a Friday night, it's like, all right, McNally, can you break it down for us a little bit more? Well, what if I have this? What if we're running inside zone? What does a match block really, really look like? And McNally's like, well, we're keeping our head inside and we're outside pillar and we're single on her. And then we're giving that fake, like we're going to power hook this guy. We're trying to get outside. We're giving that fake power hook. And then all of a sudden we're using his momentum against them and we're torquing them out. When you start hearing this stuff, it's like, wow, not only is Coach McNally teaching us blocks that work for certain things, but it starts to become universal. It's like, okay, I'm going to go with a match block if I'm a right tackle and we're running inside zone right, and this defensive end, he doesn't want to get reached, so I'm kind of go out towards him, boom, torque him out. Okay, great. Well, you know what? That same block works for a center on power right. All right, power right. The center, we're like head in front, block down. We have neck issues, head issues, all that stuff. No, it's the same match block. Okay, we're shuffling over, outside pillar, underhook. All right, torque this guy out as your guard pulls around you. These blocks start to become transferable skills and universal. So you're not teaching, like when you're teaching it, it's he gets upset sometimes. Coach McNally will get upset. He's like, no, the drill is it's the play. It's like it's doing
the game, the drill, and the drill's the game.
The drill's the game. Like he doesn't want us blocking Sleds, nope, has nothing to do with sleds. Shoots, absolutely not. All right, we're not flat back, head down, all that stuff, bull the neck. We're not doing that stuff anymore. So the drill is, hey, line a guy up in front of you and have him come towards you, And if you take, again, you take a little variations from everyone and go back to the tip of the spear stuff, they'll start you fitted up so you know what it feels like. And then you'll work backwards. The next thing you know, now you're down in a 3-point stance and you put it all together. Whereas Coach McNally says, yeah, maybe you could slow it down a little bit, but he wants you to be hands-on with dudes. You want to be battling the guys that you're going to be going against constantly, to feel what that pressure feels like, to know when you make a mistake. And then it's our job. It's just coach them up. So if I'm sitting behind them, it's either me with my phone, putting it on huddle, videoing these guys or a team manager or something, but we can give that instant feedback to these kids when they go home. We got Coach Steve Sagne, when he did his clinic, it was unbelievable. He teaches inside zone.
Unbelievable.
Every zone play, he has boxes around these guys with all the little tidbits that he typed in there. Now, I know I've done that for my players and stuff, but to see a college coach doing it and how much it was broken down and why the play worked and him talking about it and him giving kudos to his kids, but then saying, but maybe you could have done this. That's like, all right, there's no reason we all can't be successful if you preach it, believe in it, reinforce it. I mean, it's like we really are teachers. We're not just football coaches. We are teachers. There's egos, there's attitudes, there's different personalities. Finding that connection, finding that rapport with each of them, and then being able to kind of tailor it to how each individual reacts. Yeah, you probably could have screamed at. You probably could have got screamed at as a high school player. You probably did get screamed at. I got screamed at, man. I got yelled at for all types of different stuff, but I can handle that. Today's athletes, some can handle that. Some of them, it's like you really got to pull this guy to the side and say, "Hey, what's going on, man? Like, let me know. Let me know what's going on. How can I help you? And some coaches don't want to do that. No, it's just this macho football, man. We just got to go. It's like, yeah, we do got to go. But you know what? We live in a day and age with mental health and stuff. It's like, yeah, we might want to know what's going on with this kid, because once the kid knows that you care about them, then they're a lot more approachable. They're a lot more coachable. There's a lot more trust going on. And that's when that team building and that rapport building and just gelling really starts to happen, and that's what I think is like so cool about our jobs. Is like right now I'm talking to Troy Taylor from Virginia, I wouldn't have known you at all if it wasn't for the game of football, I wouldn't have been like, oh, the phys ed teacher from New Jersey is going to link up with the history teacher from Virginia. Probably doesn't sound like it's really going to happen. But then, all of a sudden he's like, all right, well, this guy, football coach, loves it, passionate about it, runs his own podcast. Oh, he happened to pull in the greatest offensive line coach ever. All right, well, cool. This is a neat little network. All right, let's try to get in on this. And that's where that coaching community just starts to open up, man. And it's like, once you get in there, it's endless. You never know who you're going to meet from there. I know that you've been referred to as like one of the greatest name droppers of all time, but you're also, I think Coach Bess said it, like you are so good at connecting people. I had met you for probably 2 minutes in Charlotte, and then boom, you were off on a podcast. So now I'm sitting with Coach Bess. And I'm asking these guys like some questions, but I just want to be a fly on the wall, man. I just want to learn. I'm like not intimidated, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not going to talk out of turn. You guys are what I aspire to be, But then the next day after they present, they do these great clinics. I'm like, hey, you guys mind if I trail around for lunch? I go out to lunch with these two college coaches. And when you talk about like not having to flaunt your feathers and showcase, I mean, both these guys change their shirts. They're not wearing their colleges out there while we're going out to eat. And we're just grabbing some food. And the neat part when I met with them is like, we weren't talking playing long. We weren't talking staying square and bracing. We were like, well, how old's your daughter? Oh, cool. And your daughter's a softball player. Okay. And we're just start talking about kids and our families. And you're like, that's when you start to realize like, hey, all of us football coaches, we're real people, but we just happen to have this unbelievable hobby that we're passionate about, and when you're passionate about something, I think it can become contagious and other people recognize that too. So what yourself and Coach McNally has opened up for me, again, meeting Mirabal and all these coaches, I'm like, it doesn't get any better than it. It really doesn't. You know, as frustrating as losses can be and trials and struggles through football, it's like, man, does this game teach us about character? And does it teach us about ourselves? And then does it teach us about like our priorities in life? You know, it's like my family is so important to me. But you know what? When we step between those white lines, you know, even the football players, they click that helmet on. It's like control what we can control the controllables. You know, it doesn't matter. You might be upset your girlfriend broke up with you, or you got a bad test grade, or mom and dad are mad at you. But right now, we're playing football. You're legally allowed to kick somebody's butt. Let's enjoy this. Let's embrace it. And I think that's what the game of football has just done for me, man. It's just created all these amazing connections, but it also made me realize like things about myself that I may never even seen in myself. You know, like you want to learn about self-confidence. It comes from humble pie on a football field, being a scout team guy, to being a starter, to being in high school, I won a state championship in junior high school. I've been coaching 21 years. I haven't won nothing, not one single state championship. But it's like, does that mean I'm going to quit? Does that mean I'm going to give up? I mean, no, that's the aspirations, man. Like that's what keeps us coming back. That competitive edge every single year is to do right and to be the best player, be the best coach, be the best family man, be a high character guy. That's what keeps this game going. Keeps me going back.
Yes. So Javon wants to know, you coach at Williamstown in West Virginia.
Yeah, now I coach in Williamstown, New Jersey. I'm about 30 minutes in between Philadelphia and 30 minutes from Atlantic City. Atlantic City is our coastline, our Atlantic Ocean, you know. So I'm in South Jersey, directly in between Philadelphia and Atlantic City, and then probably 2 hours south of New York and two and a half hours north of Baltimore.
I mean, like, just, dude, I got so much going on most of the time. Like, I thought that you had told me that you wanted to meet Steve Saunier, but I got you confused with another guy who didn't even go to Steve Saunier's lecture. And Steve Saunier gave one of the best inside zone lectures of all time. Ever. And it was funny. Like, I mean, dude, I'm not exactly sharp. Like, you say I got a photographic memory, but it's very like, I just texted you and Steve and said, hey, man, can y'all ride over on the shuttle? And, like, I didn't even realize y'all didn't know each other. I thought you wanted to meet him. Yeah. So Javon saying, yeah, I seen that after I looked your school and colors up. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, Javon, for watching, man. You were sitting here talking about Coach McNally and our experience of going to Charlotte and, you know, meeting him and how he's affected us. And so talk a little bit about that, dude. Like the Steve Saunier, me texting you to meet Steve, and then like on the way over there, and then you get to meet me. And like at the time, I'm off the chain. Like I've been off the chain for a while. You know, and me talking about BlackRock, and dude, now they control 22 trillion. That's what it says.
I wasn't even going to mention this stuff, man. I'm like, man, Troy's going to have the CIA after us and stuff.
I do already have them after me. I've told them I join them, but you know,
I get this text message from you, and you're telling me like, hey, Steve, Danny, link up with each other. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm assuming Steve's just another high school coach like myself coming down. And here I am texting back and forth with Steve, and he's like, well, I found the food court, but I can't find how to like get outside. And I'm like, yeah, I just did the same loop about 20 minutes ago. I couldn't figure it out either.
Text me, said, who is Danny? He texted me by, who is Danny? I said, that's Danny Bog. That's Coach McNally's guy. He's a high school coach in New Jersey. He said, okay, thanks. He's such a nice guy, man. Man, he's a good person, man.
Yeah, Coach Saunier, he is an absolute ace of a person. He's a Jersey guy too, man. I found that out on our little shuttle ride over. Yeah.
He's a Jersey guy, man.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, all right. So, meeting up with Steve was awesome. I'm like texting him. I'm like, all right, I'm the guy in the black sweatshirt wearing a book bag, blah, blah, blah. And I see him, comes up to me. And that's when I find out he's a college coach. Now I'm shut on over, but I'm hearing his same boyish enthusiasm that I have talking about McNally. Like, we're all geeked up, you know? But in terms of a person, man, I get to meet him, and Steve was just aces. We're registering together, we walk in together. And in terms of just being like a great person, I mean, this guy, he coaches down in West Florida. He was originally from New Jersey. He has the opportunity to go to Towson University and coach, but he tells me, he's like, happy wife, happy life. Do I want to move my wife?
I don't blame you, man.
Yeah, he's like, do I want to move my wife up into like the Baltimore Harbor, or do I want to stay on like the Gulf of Mexico on this West Florida part? So
yeah,
like when you start to hear coaches talk like that, that's when you realize, like, yeah, it's not what everybody always thinks, where it's like you just got to be ingrained and it's just football, it's all you eat, sleep. It's like, no, these guys know how to make it a priority to have your family first. And when talking to Steve and seeing such a sincere person, I mean, Steve, anybody that walked in, he's popping up, taking his hat off, shaking hands, great eye contact, great energy, just a positive, great vibe dude, to the point that I've texted with him a few times now, and he sent me clips of spring ball, because I'm asking him about, all right, hey, I know your guys are doing up kicks, but are you bracing the post now? Are you dropping this post foot? Because, I mean, jeez, for a bazillion years, man, it's like, no, keep your post foot, pound the post. And it's like you start realizing you're fighting guys like this, and it doesn't really work as well as when, boom, we're coming across and hitting with our outside hand, and the inside hand's not getting slapped down. So I asked Steve about this. Next thing you know, he's shooting me videos with his little notes written on there and everything. And I'm like, that's where, one, he's just a great person. Two, he's an open book, man. He's willing to share. And that's kind of how this football fraternity is, man. I watch so many of your podcasts, and you hear the different coaches that have so much like admiration for the sport, but just for the football network is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, but dude, like, I drove from Richmond, Virginia, and like my girlfriend, I think she went to sleep, and I went down there and like was going to do a podcast. I'm sitting at the bar, I don't sit at bars. Okay. I do not ever sit at bars because I don't drink. All right. And there's a reason I don't drink. It's because I
don't drink.
Yes. So I don't sit at bars. I was sitting in the restaurant, and I got Diet Coke. Tell her, bring me two. And like, I see Brett Shockley, from Arkansas. And then, I think Bill Bess shows up, or you. And dude, I was off the chain. So talk a little bit about that, bro. Like, Were you ready for what you sat down next to when you sat next to me?
Yeah, so I was not ready for the Troy Taylor experience, man. What you guys see on the podcast is real, but that's not even close to the 1,000 miles an hour that Troy really is, man. I sat down. I'm like, hey, Troy, nice to meet you. I sit down, and he is giving me more knowledge and theories and stuff that I could ever. I didn't even know what he was talking about half the time. I'm like, I love this, Troy, but I'm like, you're above my head. I'm literally here just to talk football, but I'm loving it. I mean, you're just showing you're a well-rounded person.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting out of football, man. I'm sick of this football stuff. Like, this is a waste of time. And then as soon as Coach McNally gets there, boom, I'm like a pit bull. I see red.
And I see it too, because you even said it to me. You were like, we got all this stuff going on, and we're here worried about football. And I just sat back for a second. I was like, well, Troy, what about like control what you can control? I know that I have some control of the guys that are in my room. I have some control of like making sure they're high character guys, and like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, if I get good at my craft of this football and networking and this and that, I can push it off to my players. Maybe my players want to be good family men, but they also want to be great players, and maybe they become college players, or maybe they become high school coaches or college coaches or whatever. And it's like, Troy, I'm here for this. I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm ready for McNally to come down and start his spiel. And I know the other coaches are ready for that too. Yeah. But yeah, your personality is like, it's infectious, man. Like the first time we talked on the phone, started out just like this podcast where you saying like about like the Polish, you're asking if my ancestors were in coal mines and this. I'm like,
y'all were actually smart.
I think they own like bars in Camden, Camden, New Jersey. I'm like, that's how it kind of started for me. Yeah. But you know what? Just having that, Troy, like having that passion and that well-roundedness that you have. I mean, that's awesome. That's why people want to talk to you and want to associate with you, and that's why I think your podcast has been so successful, because you're a pretty sincere dude, man.
Yeah, dude. I watch all these videos like be authentic, like be yourself. Like, dude, I don't know how to be anything else. I mean, it's crazy, man. And the people, like I told a kid the other day in my class, I said, anybody got any questions about anything? Well, I need to get a job, but I can't fill out the application. Every time I fill out the application, they say it's not correct. And I said, dude, I'll take you to KFC. I'll get you the job. And his mom and him is thinking I'm weird. Like, the person that's real, you think is weird and fake. And the person that's fake, you think is real now. So, like, what's real and what's fake in our world? Like, this is real. Like, this is really who I am. This is really who Danny is. And Coach McNally, like you said, dude, he looks like an old man on the podcast. But when he wears the weight belt and the T-shirt and the basketball shorts, the gym shorts, like, dude, that's the 30-year-old Jim McNally. What's inside of him, and it doesn't do it justice. Like you said, dude, like the in-person experience. Yeah. Like
it's absolutely invaluable, man. That in-person experience, and I agree with you, man. Like, people don't know what's real, because there are hidden agendas out there. Like, is this a money grab? Is he trying to use my kid for some type of advantage or anything like that? You're like, no, I'm just a sincere person, man. I just want to be a good dude. At the end of the day, it's like, I feel if you're authentic and if you're real, people see that, man. Especially kids. Kids read through those lines. They read the bull crap. They're not going to respect you if you're not 100% with them, So a lot of us, we have to let our guards down sometimes, If you let the kid in, they're going to let you in as well, I don't know what a lot of the kids come from, Maybe their parents were fighting the night before. Maybe they don't have parents. Maybe they live with their grandparents. Maybe you just don't know, But when you come across authentic, whether it's a corny high five or a fist pump or whatever, dab it up and a hug or whatever it is, it's like, all right, cool. For that one moment, we embraced. There was no hidden agenda. It's like, I'm just trying to break down some barriers here and get to know you. And now, boom, let's get it cooking. How can I help you? What can? There's no hidden agenda here. It's like, I'm not trying to ride anybody's coattails or anything. Like, even this McNally thing, it wasn't like, all right, I'm going to meet Coach McNally because Troy Taylor is going to get me on podcast. No, it's not. That's not what I'm going for. It's like, that McNally experience was the coolest thing I've ever probably had in terms of football, along with going down and meeting Mirabal and going down to Charlotte, meeting these other coaches. That's just authentic, great times,
The journey.
It's the journey. The night before I flew to Charlotte, I was in Atlantic City with over 1,000 coaches at a Glazier clinic, and I'm opening up for Sean Devine, who my job is to kind of present Sean Devine, who's the offensive line coach for the University of Villanova. And I'm like, oh, you're the University of Villanova O-line coach. And I know Coach Ferrante is the head coach. Coach Ferrante was my brother-in-law's O-line coach at Villanova. He was a 4-year starter, national championship. And now you just start talking and connecting. And it's like, yeah, there's not hidden agendas. It's we're all human. We're people. We can let our guards down a little bit and talk to each other. And then, all right, let's get it cooking too. Let's talk a little bit of shop. And once you see that and you cut through the bull crap, it's like, yeah, these are real dudes, just like you and I.
Yeah, so like the School of McNally, we are disciples of Jim McNally. And the reason we're disciples, look at that, man. What does it read that? Read that.
Yeah. So McNally, he would say on Twitter, he's like, I want people to make a plaque for me. I want a plaque. So for his 80th birthday, I went out and says the 2023 O-Line Guru Academy School of McNally, presented to Coach Bogue in recognition of working towards becoming a master coach. First contact wins, play long, foot fire, brace, root it, stay square, square shuffle, deep shuffle, hammer to plow, up kick, jump set, ABC sets, pillars, clamps, credited by Jim Mouse McNally.
The mouse.
Again, I bought myself a plaque, but this is what, Coach McNally said he wanted it, so I presented it to him for his birthday. And it was awesome. It's just something like corny and quirky that I hang on to, but it's like, yeah, I am from the school of McNally. Everything this guy says to me in terms of football, I'm trying to just be a sponge and literally absorb it, take it the way he says it. Maybe I have to present it a little bit different way because I have to make it connect with my guys. But I mean, Coach is always evolving too. He said things so many times that he says it a little bit different other times too. So you go back and follow it. And even like Coach McNally on Twitter, like sometimes they'd be like, don't ask me questions that I went over 1,000 times. So I'm going back and I'm looking for videos and I'm like, wow, they cut Coach McNally off. He only has from January 4th of this year is all his stuff. All that stuff I learned last year that he put up, it's not up there no more. So the other day,
hold on, what?
Yeah,
Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, like his media stuff. You go back to his media, it goes back to January 4th of this year. But all that stuff from last year isn't up there no more. So I'm like, hey, Coach, I'm looking all over for this one video of a cover block. I was like, can you repost it for me? And the next thing you know, he's like, done. I look on Twitter. Coach Danny Bogue wanted me to repost this. And I'm like, wow, it's awesome. But yeah, so a lot of the stuff that he references and he's like, well, don't ask me this question. I've already covered 1,000 times. For some of these new coaches that are jumping in, yeah, you're going to be lost in the sauce because he put so much stuff out there. But it's not there no more. Like I was shocked trying to find these videos, and I'm like, they did take some of his media down.
Yeah, so I'm looking here, man, and there's 151 coaches that's watching this right now, man. And like when we started this podcast, dude, I mean, it was my friend that I work for now, and I had two of my coaches doing it, and I was so upset with them because they complained it being an hour and 10 minutes, and I had to write the questions, so I fired them. And like we had people watching us talk about the school of McNally, and there's young coaches out there, and everybody wants to know how to move up. And I was going to talk about this today. Like, you are your resume. Mm-hmm. You are your resume. Coach McNally is his resume.
Correct.
And Coach McNally got to where he got because he did the best that he could do and coached as hard as he could where he was. And, just to hear him tell the story about a scout saw him coach and told Forrest Gregg about him with the Bengals, and that's what got him his shot. So, like, what can younger coaches take on his journey that they can use? Because when you're young, you think you know where you're headed. You think you got a plan, but really you ain't got no plans. So talk about that.
Yeah, when you're young, I mean, every one of us think that we have the plan and this is the template and I'm going to progress and this is how it's going to work. And then all of a sudden, life happens. There's a lot of things that happen in life that you can't be prepared for, but you just got to keep evolving and go with the flow sometimes. But when it came to Coach McNally, he's like, he talked about the coaching staff leaving the University of Buffalo, but he wanted to finish his schooling there and still wanted to coach. So they were going to bring on probably other graduate assistants, stuff like that. And he's like, well, they're not going to outwork me. And his mindset was, I'm going to be the first one there with the coffee and donuts every single morning. So there he is, probably didn't have a lot of money and stuff, but he was making sure that the coaches knew that they had everything that was taken care of. Like they had what they needed. And then when he was on the field, he dug into what he needed to know and was sound mind, was teaching all the latest techniques at that time. And he just wasn't going to be outworked. And I mean, you see his work ethic now. He does not get outworked at all. I mean, again, $2.50 clinics that he's given more knowledge than it's endless. You can't even put a price tag on what he's giving you. So for you young coaches, I mean, I'm going to be 42 next month. I still consider myself a young coach. Some people says like, the dream kind of goes away. It's like, nah. My kids graduate in 7 years. Both of my girls will be in college, So at that time, maybe I can take my shot at college or pro or anything like that. But in the meantime, it's put yourself in the best position you could be right now. Be the best assistant you can be. Be the best person that you can be. Learn, go to clinics, network, watch videos, put your own little spin on things. Take notes. I mean, I got this little book of McNally isms right here, and it's like, okay, foot fire, brace step, high leg, scoot. I have to write this stuff down.
Yeah, Go through them all. Steve Saunier, look at him, dude. Let's go. Great to see y'all on now. I mean, that's how I met Steve. I did not even know who he was. No. And he was watching the podcast and talking. And then finally, I like this. What he's in D2 national champion coached by Bad Rad. I mean, the coach of the offensive line coach of the Steelers, like, dude, how cool is that, man? He's one of the best people on the planet.
Steve is definitely one of the best people on the planet. Knows his stuff so well, so detail-oriented, again, with those notes and the boxes around the players and all this great feedback. But also, like, I think just with Steve, it's like that connection that you feel with him right away. Like, I would love to be a player for Steve, you know? And then you start looking at the statistics. I think he was like maybe number 1 or number 2 in the country of not having negative yardage plays, you know? And I talking to Coach Shockley. I think they kind of jockey for each other, like who's number 1 and 2 in Division II football of O-line play and not taking negative plays. And it's like, hey, these are guys that are detail oriented, that just do it the right way, you know? And then when you talk to both of them, you're like, all right, well, not only do they do it the right way, they network, they interact with people. Again, like with Coach Sonia, I mean, he's standing up, he's shaking your hand, making great eye contact. Coach Shockley doing the same exact thing. And it's like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes to find that connection, to take that focus. I think I'm a little bit like you, Troy, where we're like squirreling a little bit all over the place. But man, when we focus in and you engage with those people, I remember Coach McNally or Coach Mirabal even telling me, be where your feet are, you know, be present, be where your feet are at that time. And it's like, yeah, for the younger coaches, don't just dream of being that next guy, being the head coach, being a college guy. He's like, be present where you are now, because those kids, your players, your group is looking for you to be their leader. And that's how you have to be at all times. You know, like you have to be where you are. If you're job searching or you're looking elsewhere and you're not fully engaged, well, they're not going to take you seriously. They're like, coach is just using this for a stepping stone. It's like, no, you can't use it as a stepping stone, man. You're either all in or you're all out, and kids are going to read that 100%. So for young coaches, be present, be all in, be unconditionally supportive of your head coach in front of the parents, administration, players, everything. In the room, yeah. In the coach's office, coaches don't want just a bunch of bobbleheads, all right? They don't want just a bunch of yes men, all right? That's where we talk about things behind the scenes. You work out your little issues, your little differences. You don't go out on the field and be like, hey, coach, why are we doing it this way? Well,
I talked about that.
You did, man. And it was awesome. It was literally just this week you talked about it. And it's like, that is invaluable for young coaches. I've worked for a guy, his name was Joe Tafoni. Joe Tafoni played for the Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants in the 70s. Was a right tackle. He's telling me about like Deacon Jones giving him a head whack and all this great stuff. And I'm like, I would get the practice. I for most of my career, I've never taught where I coached. I would get the practice and he'd be like, hey, Boguesy, install this. And here I am reading these like napkins or whatever notepads that he has, walking out to the practice field, learning it while I'm walking out there just so I can go and implement it. And then he can come out there and refine it and teach it how it's really supposed to be. But it's like, whatever a coach needs from you that's above you, all right, just do it. Yeah, like there shouldn't be any questions asked. It's like sometimes we just got to eat humble pie. I think my first year coaching at 21, I might have made $500, maybe $500, if that. You know, I probably spent a lot more than that on gas, on running around and everything else I did, or taking players home or taking them out for a slice of pizza because just trying to build that network. But it was things like that gave me the opportunity 10 years in to become a head coach. And now 21 years in to realize, like, all right, I don't want to be a head coach right now. I want to be the best O-line coach I possibly can be, best O-line coach in New Jersey, best O-line coach around. That's my mindset. That's what I'm ingrained in. And I'm going to let the head coach deal with that other stuff. But I'm going to support him unconditionally. Right? I have a head coach right now, Frank Fusatola, who won a ton of championships at Williamstown and other places like that. He retired for 3 years. He's back this year. I go over to the weight room yesterday. He's like, Coach Bogue, you want to take this over? And we're flipping tires. He's like, how do you want to do it? I was like, all right, let's flip this tire, jump in, jump out. And it's like, you got to support your coaches unconditionally, man. No matter what. Like, for us to have one heartbeat, like for us right now, it's Brave Nation. For me to be Brave Nation, my players got to see that I'm going to do whatever coach. Yes, coach. Yes, coach. Yes, coach. I'm going to do whatever he says. And it's not to be a yes man. It's that we need to get stuff done. There's a time frame to work with stuff. So young coaches, be proactive. Be proactive in everything that you do. Don't step on toes. All right. You're allowed to question things in a coach's office when that open roundtable is going on. But when it's time to work and just put your hard hat on and put your head down and grind, you 100% need to just be the best assistant coach you can be and be grounded right where you are. And then naturally that opens up doors for you.
Yeah. Coach Bald, who was a guy I grew up with. And now we do the Life Lessons podcast. Coach Saunier is the man. Hit me up, Coach, if you're ever near Tampa or St. Petersburg, Florida. It's so funny that Coach Bald had befriended Bob Wiley.
Yeah.
And then Coach Wiley was on the podcast when Coach Saunier and me, we did the 5-hour, I think it was the longest offensive line podcast of all time with Bob Wiley. And Coach McNally cussed me out for getting Coach LeBeau to do that message. And Coach Bald took one for the team. Coach Bald stood up and took one for the team and said he was the one that got it done. And Bob Wiley knew Coach Bald. It's a small world, dude. But there's Steve Saunier. Coach Bald, yes, sir, 100%. I love your energy you bring every day. Man.
Yeah, and I don't know Coach Bald at all, but that energy, man, that stuff is contagious, man. He's got the camera. Woo! He's a beautiful tap and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is a good dude that just gets it too, man. I enjoy just seeing. Like
Coach Isaiah Wynn. He coached Isaiah Wynn that played for the Patriots. Yes. Yeah. He coached the Griffin twins at Lakewood. He coached Marquez Valdez-Stantlin. Like, dude, he's coached some dudes, man. It's crazy. It's a small world, man.
It is.
It's a small world after all, man. Like, so, you're 42. I'm 40. You said you're 42?
Yeah, 42 in April.
And I'm 45. So, we didn't grow up in a world where they had YouTube. We had TV. We had VHS tapes. We had DVDs of clinics. And, dude, like Coach Boudreaux, Bob Wiley, Coach McNally, I had their DVDs. I had their VHS tapes. And now we know them. And Coach Mirabal, everybody loves him. He's one of probably the most popular offensive line coaches in the world.
Phenomenal.
And we know him, man. It's like, yeah, maybe we haven't won a state championship every single year or had 20 Division I players, but like that is, they say that your reputation is the most important thing when building your brand.
Yeah.
And dude, like you're legit. You're legit.
Yeah.
And like what changed? We got 158 people watching us, man. Like what really changed? Because like I never agreed with the flipper. Like I've always been a hands guy. I graduated in 1996 from high school. I played for Matt Bland, who played at West Virginia for Mike Jacobs. Mike Jacobs coached Orlando Pace at Ohio State. So we always got a fit. We always locked on. Like, so I ain't never believed in the flipper. Even when I coached the wing T, they told me to coach it, but I did. But, like, what did you believe differently than what Coach McNally teaches? Because when Coach told me he didn't flipper no more, I was like, okay, I can rock with this. Like,
yeah.
So what?
I think, I was like 6 years old. I think they threw me at center, and I literally never moved. I was center from 6 years old all the way through high school and all that stuff. But I remember they were like, grab your own jersey, then you can't get called for holding. So now we're blocking like this. We're using our shoulders, this and that. I'm doing these ram blocks. And I think it's like, all right, so I learned that. And I think I even went through high school doing that. And then, like I said, we were successful. We went 12-0, and it was awesome. But then all of a sudden I get to college, and you're like, oh, wow. All right. Yeah, this is a little bit different here. So when I transferred to Rowan University, there's a coach named Brian Wright, B. Wright. He's now the head coach at Timber Creek High School. Took over that guy, Coach Hinson, I was telling you about. But he's the one that kind of really helped me evolve to learn how to use hands and learning how to play long and things like that. And And I know pass blocking, that's even evolved too, where it's like I was always 2 thumbs up, dude, right? So we're punching, 2-hand punch, time your punch. He's swinging bags at us, bam, bam, we're shooting our hands. And then I start to get to a point, it's like, okay, well, Coach McNally's saying to do it this way, or we're doing certain drills, rolling the meatballs. Well, why am I rolling the meatballs? What does that have to do? Why would I possibly roll the meatballs? All right, well, a couple of things. Now, rolling the meatballs gets my hands out front. Well, I'm ready for action. First contact wins. Rolling the meatballs gets me where I'm foot firing, boom, 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 putting myself in great position to get in front of a guy, still keeping leverage. My hands can now work independently. Now, boom, now I'm sending that outside pillar. I'm striking along outside pillar with an inside clamp, or I'm outside pillar with a single under, okay, or a vice like Coach McNally might see. But when you start to learn to use these independent hands, it also teaches that we're not turning our shoulders. I'm using 2 hands. They slap it down once. I'm turning shoulders. I'm losing. All right. I use independent hands, slap one down. Cool. I can fit up with another one. Stay as square as you can. So just by doing it, like, I literally, I'm by myself blocking goalposts while my daughters are at soccer practice. They're like, all right, who's this weirdo over on the field, like videoing himself? And it's not that I'm videoing myself to put everything out on Twitter. It's like I'm videoing myself to learn. Like, all right, well, how am I going to teach this to the kids if I'm doing it and it don't even look right? So I have to constantly do this because, again, when I was taught, I was taught like this. When I was taught how to pass pro, it was kind of like foot fire. There was never a kick step or a brace foot or anything like that. But it's like I was kind of like this, just dancing in air. And I had no idea what I was doing until I got to college. So that helped me in college. Then I start coaching. I'm 21 years old. I take everything I learned from college, and I did it to a T. Same type of double teams. I'm getting my head in front. I'm turning my shoulders. I'm getting into these double teams, these ace blocks, deuce blocks, and stuff. And then all of a sudden, it's like at 40 years old or 41 years old, I start following Coach McNally, and it's like, all right, everything that I was doing doesn't mean it was wrong, but it's not the best method to be effective, right? There's so many coaches out there that are extremely effective, that have won championships, and they do it. Like, they bury their heads. They use their shoulders. They use their flippers and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, why not just teach it right the first time? Teach it right right away. If we want these kids to be safer and we talk heads up football and playing long, he's like, then why don't we just teach it that way as opposed to, they'll learn that in college. This is the way we do it right here in high school. I'm like, no, it can't be that way. So once Coach McNally told me all this and showed me all this, it was absolutely game changing for me, man. Like I eat, sleep, I live this stuff. I mean, I'll pass block and run block anybody I can possibly find. My other phys ed teachers, there I am. I'm playing long on them. Students in the locker room, I'm showing them the new stuff that I learned. My kids are like, they're double under. My wife, it's like all this stuff. I mean, if my 10-year-old daughter can learn it, my wife can learn it. It's like, who can't learn this stuff? But when you're passionate about something, similar to how McNally is, it just becomes contagious. You want to just share. I feel like it's a gift, and I just want to share that with as many people as possible. And I know it's not going to be for everybody. Some people are just rigid and thought, hey, this is how we do it. We do turn our shoulders. More power to you. Do your thing. I mean, I'm a high school coach from South Jersey. So I might not have all the answers, but I'm telling you what, I'm doing everything I possibly can, learning from the greatest O-line coach of all time. Everything he does, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just copy that, and then when you meet a guy again, like Coach Bess and Coach Sonnier and Coach Shockley and stuff, and they're saying they're doing it too, and they're successful at a high level. Like, I know Colorado State's going to take off this year. Coach got his players coming in. They got their type of guys. They're going to take off this year, and everybody's going to get to see that, and it's like, all right, if these guys believe in it, they're confident in their conviction, then I can do it too. Like, I can teach this stuff as well, so
yes.
That's right.
Steve says, Coach Troy Taylor, thank you again for bringing us all together. Your gift of hospitality is unmatched, and how you connect people is amazing. Man, I'm just blessed. Like, I'm blessed, and like Chan Gailey told me, the Lord takes care of fools and children, and I'm not a child. So, like, I'm just a fool, man. I act a fool. I'm a TikToker. I mean, I got men and women giving me money. I got guys crip walking. I think they might be in prison. I mean, but just, dude, like, we got 163 people in here. And for all you coaches out there, the guys that's coaching rec ball, the guys that's coaching youth football, the guys that's coaching JV in high school, dude, some of y'all could coach in the NFL.
Yes. And Coach McNally says it too.
It don't matter where you coach.
Nope.
There's good coaches everywhere. Steve Saunier could coach anywhere.
Yeah, Coach Saunier, I mean, he was so unbelievably detail-oriented with Inside Zone. Like, if you have any curiosity about Inside Zone, just continue to watch Coach Saunier, because that presentation right there was unreal. I mean, it literally chopping up every single play, what it should look like and what you should be doing.
Coach Bogue, I can feel your passion through this podcast. Keep it going. Did you say double under your wife?
Yeah, my wife definitely knows what double unders, man. It's she's foot fired me around the kitchen with some double unders. You know, I mean, she sees me like if there's a wall. You know, there's a wall, and she sees me bringing my hips, and I'm unlocking. And she's like, "What the heck are you doing?" And I'm telling her. And next thing you know, boom, 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 she's getting me. She's playing long. You understand this stuff? It's real. It's contagious. And just to piggyback what you say, those youth coaches, high school coaches, but yes, you can coach it if you put in the time and the effort. There are so many amazing coaches out there. I have a coach, Coach Fred Alexander, the other day that I just linked with, and he came in with a scouting report of all the 8th graders that are coming in. And it was absolutely unbelievable. I'm like, all right, this kid got a 10 for character. For his academics, he's got a 10. This kid for athleticism, he's an 8, but he's the most coachable kid I've ever had. And I'm like, wow, this is how detail-oriented it is. You're going to tell me that he couldn't be a scout personnel in the NFL or doing something like that?
Should be.
Yeah. Like, and we can, but you know what? At the same time, that opportunity, a lot of time is like, it's who you know, timing is everything, you know, and some of us, we like where we are. You know, I right now I live in Sicklerville, New Jersey, probably 2 miles away from Pine Hill, New Jersey, where I grew up. You know, I moved 2 miles away from where I grew up my whole entire life. And I have the greatest supporting cast of friends. I mean, there's like a crew of like 13 of us that now our kids are friends, our wives are friends and stuff like that. But it's like, you choose to put yourself around this, you know, like, yeah, I could have moved somewhere else. I want to move to Colorado a bazillion times and go out there and coach and whatever. But at the same time, it's like, if you put your family and friends first, and then you're still passionate about football, have your feet grounded, be present where you are, and then good things happen to good people, man. I'm a firm believer of that it really does. So having the opportunity to meet you, that's just, I mean, I'm not lying, dude. Like, you really have just taken off on a whole nother level. I've never been on a podcast before. I've never had this opportunity to.
Neither have I. Neither have I. It's awesome. Like the Wizard of Oz, y'all. Ain't nobody real, man. The people that really are the gurus will tell you they don't know anything. So, like, when I grew up, I didn't think I was smart. I had to cheat on other people's tests. I did look over what they got for 10. They're from Woodland Pond. They're from the rich neighborhood. Their mama went to this college. 10. Out of 10, they got A. I was too stupid to realize that the questions were different and the answers were different.
Yep.
Like, I didn't think that I looked good enough. I didn't understand. I waited for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. I didn't know that they had Photoshop and they had filters. I thought that's the way a woman's supposed to look like. Dude, all the coaches out there, ain't nobody smarter than y'all. And, I mean, some of those rich coaches' wives, their wives don't look better than my girlfriend from Rock Hill, South Carolina. So who can recruit? Yeah. Who can recruit? Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm a fool.
Yeah.
That's the reason I ain't a head coach no more. I'm a fool. Yeah. What you think, Coach?
I love it, Troy. But yeah, man, you're so right, man. It's like, yes, there's guys, they present something and you're like, wow, this guy's so smart, you know. But let's not just get enamored, you know, like have some confidence in yourself that we have a lot to offer as well. Yeah, be that fly on the wall when it's your time to speak up, take advantage of it. Speak up. When it's your time to be quiet and just learn and observe, do that as well. I mean, again, I know I don't like name dropping like I have been, but like Coach Bess, I watched his podcast the other day with you. And I'm like, Coach Bess, that was just amazing, man, because he talked about going to the cool clinics and just being in awe and just not wanting to really offer anything, just absorb and just learning all this stuff. And then next thing you know, I mean, his coaching career is just taken off to unparalleled heights. But his whole thing is like, he don't even want to hear himself talk. He's like, I'm not going back and watching that podcast and anything. But it's like, he's great at what he does. Coach Shockley's great at what he does. Sonye has a way of presenting things the way he does. Coach McNally, he has a way of presenting things that he does. Well, you know what? Danny Bogue, I got a way of presenting things the way I do. Coach Taylor, you're off the hook. You got a way of presenting things you do. I mean, this energy, though, it can be contagious. I mean, my players, I want them to feel this every single day. I go in the phys ed class every single day. I'm like, all right, let's go. But when you bring that enthusiasm into something and you know that you're passionate about it, people can read between the lines and they realize, now this person cares about me and really cares about what he's doing, and let's get it right, but let's get it right together, and I just think that's what football is all about. Is like, you might work sometime, you might be a high business person, or you might work in a school and you have principals and different levels and things like that, or you can be a construction worker. It's like, we all got a pecking order. We all got things that we have to do, things that we have to get done. There's things that we want to do, but find that passion that you love. Don't be scared to shoot your shot, and then follow through. Whatever it is, follow through. It's not like, I'd be lying to you if I told you last night I didn't have like little jitters, like, oh my goodness, I've never been on a podcast before. What's going to happen? And I'm like, shut up, man. You're just talking shop. You're just talking football. It's what I do all the time anyway. And you're pretty much one of the realest people I know, Troy. So it's like, we're just having a conversation here. And it's awesome that there's 160 something other coaches that
crazy, man.
In.
Like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. But when you get cut from JV baseball, you don't make it. All right. So I'll be a commentator. I'll be a sports commentator. I didn't know there'd be a YouTube that I could just make a podcast. I mean, you don't even have to be good. You just start, fake it till you make it, man. Yeah. And like Coach Bogue said, if you want to be like Jim McNally, the greatest of all time, surround yourself with people you want to be like. That's the cheat code to life. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Like, you got a good circle. You got a good circle of coaches. We're blessed, man. We're
like-minded people, man. Like-minded people. That's you have to surround yourself with that. It's you can always have your great buddies and things like that, but at the same time, like one of my best friends owns a pizza shop. Well, how the hell is that going to help me with football? But that doesn't mean he's not my best friend in the whole wide world. It's like, you can have differences, but the things that you're passionate about, follow through. Like at 16 years old, he's delivering pizza for this place. Now he's owned the shop for over 20 something years. So that was something he was passionate about. For me, I swore up and down I was going to play in the NFL, and then I realized that at maybe 6'1", 215, there's not a lot of centers in the NFL that are built like that, And I'm like, you're running a 5'2". I'm probably built like a linebacker or fullback. Yeah, well, I'm not that type of dude. I'm an offensive lineman at heart through and through. But that doesn't mean that I can't be the best possible offensive line coach that I can be. That's out there. That's surrounding yourself, and it's that's where it is. Don't ever sell yourself short. Like when I went to Western Connecticut, I had no idea what I was going to major in, but I knew it was a team that wanted me and they wanted me to play football. And the head coach was Coach Bob Serace, and Coach Bob Serace brings me up there, and his dad was a legend in Vineland, New Jersey. Well, my second year, Coach Bob Serace leaves, and he's the offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now Coach Bob Serace has been the head coach at Princeton for, I don't even know, about 15 years now. So you never know what type of connections, who you're going to network with, who you're going to meet. Don't ever burn a bridge that you might have to cross again. You might not jive or get along with everybody, but just treat people on an individual basis, but be sincere about it, And if you don't hit it off, okay, that's cool. There's a bazillion other coaches that you can hit it off with. But if you do hit it off, well, how about you keep that contact, Like, how about you have that little feather in your cap that if you ever need to reference or go back to, it's like, okay, I'm not here to be starstruck. I'm here to be on the same level as you and to learn this stuff. And when you have that and you have that passion, I think those coaches start to realize it too.
Yeah, like Coach Bald always says, treat a rock star like a regular person and treat a regular person like a rock star. That was his secret in hospitality. So, dude, we've been on here an hour and 30 minutes. Like, Coach McNally, the School of McNally, like, let's just end this thing with just saying thank you to him and thank you to our families. Like, he gave like Coach McNally, like, you never know how we feel about you, but I think you do because you know how you feel about the people that help get you where you went. So it's all love, and we love you, and we are you, and you are us, and we are your disciples, and that's why we wanted to do this. And man,
I'm forever grateful for him.
Man, go ahead, Danny. What's on your heart to say to Coach and your family?
So again, Coach, I mean, my family, obviously, they are so unbelievably supportive. When I tell them I'm going to hop in my 07 Honda Accord and drive up to Buffalo, they're like, is that thing even going to make it there? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out, right? And they're just so supportive of my hopes and dreams. But then for Coach McNally just to be so welcoming. Again, I didn't know him other than reaching out through Twitter, just taking that shot. And the next thing you know, I'm in his house at 9 a.m., and we're blocking each other, and we're going after it. And then he's taking me out for a burger, and he's blocking a chair as we're sitting there eating. And then he says, before I leave, he connects me with Coach Mirabal. And it's like you said, we are that Coach now because, again, totem pole nation, low man on the totem pole, O-line guys. Yeah, we don't get that credit, but that's not what we do it for. It's like we are always going to be the tightest unit. There's 5 of us that have to work together in unison. You throw in those tight ends, the H's, fullbacks. It's like we have to work in unison. So we better build that network. We better build that fraternity. We better build that. I'm going to trust the guy next to me. Well, that's that everlasting legacy that Coach McNally's putting out there, right? I don't know any other any other pro coaches and college coaches that just put as much free stuff out there as what he's doing in his spare time. But you know what? Now he's going to be an absolute immortal in terms of the football world. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame, but these videos are going to be there forever. And if anybody ever says, I want to learn this stuff, I mean, it's there. It's absolutely there. It's 100% accessible. He engages on Twitter. I mean, I've watched guys the last few days throwing out this like a 3-3 stack defense against them. And it's like, hey, he's engaging right back and he's reposting. And if he doesn't know the answer, he goes out and he searches for it. 80 years old, goes out and searches for the answer, gives you the best knowledge that he's possibly going to give you. So forever, we are the McNallys, like the School of McNally. It's like, if you want to be a great coach or you want to be a great O-line coach, just dive in. Just dive in. He's a resource. We know none of us are going to be here forever. He's not going to be here forever, but he's given us so much forever memories, that, I mean, it's so invaluable.
Yeah, bro. He don't like it when I FaceTime him and put him on the thing, man. I would have done it before, but like, man, he don't like that, man. Like, dude, he is a creature of habit. And when you take him out of his habits, or me, I'm wild and I'm outside the box. So is he. But man, yeah, you're trying to set me up, dude. Yeah. You're trying to get me cussed out. But you know that I'm stupid enough to do it. Coach McNally has been a blessing beyond words. Thank you again, Coach Troy Taylor, for connecting us all. Man, I can't even believe that I'm here, man. It's just like, we started this thing, and I mean, within a year, we got Coach McNally sitting there blocking chairs. It's crazy. So, like, thank you, Danny. Anything else you want to say? I'm going to press end, and then we'll stay here on chat for a second, all right?
Yeah, Coach, I just wanted to, again, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for getting McNally on Twitter, right? Giving us the greatest O-line resource you could possibly have. Throwing me in this GOAT chat, it's like, I'm like, wow, really? So now I'm with like college coaches and stuff, and I'm not going to dive into that stuff, but it's like, you have networked so many people so unbelievably well that it's just it's awesome, man. And I'm happy for you to have these opportunities, but I'm really really thankful for what you've given me. I'm really thankful for Coach McNally and where this journey has gone. And I want to just keep it rolling. And again, the proof's in the pudding. Williamstown Braves this year are going to realize what we're going to do offensive line wise, and we're really going to get things rolling. So thank you again, Troy. And
yeah, bro, I love you, man.
Bro, appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm gonna press end here. We're gonna talk for a second. All right.